Hello and welcome back. Let's take a look at how to use the Mermaid.js library for creating diagrams. If you open your web browser and go to Mermaid.js.org, it's going to open up this page for you, which is the home page for the Mermaid.js library. And you can go to Get Started to get to the page where you have the document. And the documents for how to do flowchart, sequence diagram, class diagram, and all the kind of diagrams you can make is listed here in the diagram syntax. And they are very simple syntax. To run a Mermaid diagram, you need the Mermaid Live Editor. I'm going to open the Mermaid Live Editor, and the Mermaid Live Editor is where you run Mermaid codes, which are very similar to markdowns. You run the Mermaid codes, and those codes will generate images over this place. And if you're done with the image you want to generate, you can come over to Action and then click PNG or whatever format you want to export the code in. And if you want to see the diagram in full screen, you just click the full screen icon and it's going to show you a full screen of the diagram. You can also come to your VS Code and add a VS Code plugin that will enable you to do to create diagrams just like in the live mode. So what you do is just type Mermaid here, and you click this to open the lists of plugins, and you type in Mermaid. And when you type in Mermaid, you look for Markdown Preview Mermaid support, and this is it. And you can see this is the icon for that. This is it. And then what you do is that you install it. You click the install. Because I've installed it, it has disabled and uninstalled. On the first time, it's going to show you install. So having installed it, you can now create whatever type of markdown that you want to create. Let's start with flowcharts. We're just going to take a little example of how to get flowcharts done. To create a flowchart, I'm going to come to the live editor, and I'm going to say what I want to create is flowchart, and I want it to go from left to right. There are other options like top to bottom, TB, or top down, which is TD, and right left option. We will see all the options later. And then you just tab in and then create a particular diagram that you want. I just want to create the first diagram is going to be called ID1, and the second one will be called ID2. Now to link ID1 to ID2, all I'll do is just say ID1 -- greater than sign ID2. That is, I'm pointing to ID2. And the reason why it's going this way is because I said it should do left to right. If I change this to TD, it's going to go from top to bottom, that is top down. TD and TB are the same thing. They do top to bottom. Of course, you can also do bottom to top also, so that it goes the other way around. We can do all our code in this text editor, or we can also implement it in the VS Code Markdown editor that we just installed. Running the code from the VS Code editor, we create a file that have an extension of MD because it's a Markdown file. And then to start a Mermaid Markdown, we're going to start with 3 backtick and then have the word Mermaid in there to show that the code in between the backticks is going to be for drawing diagrams. And I'm going to put the diagram we had drawn initially. If you look at this icon is to preview our markdowns. And if I click it, and you see it actually shows exactly what I did. If I remove this, it's going to show just the 2 unconnected. And if I put it back, it's going to show it connected. Okay, so to add or change the label for each of the items in the diagram, I will just use square bracket, and then I'll put in whatever I want to be the label. Identity 1, and I'm going to do for the next one also will be for identity 2. 2. So you can see it's going from identity 1 to identity 2. Let me change it back to TB, which is top down. And I can also create some more connection. I'm going to create ID3, and that will be identity 3. And I'm going to say ID3 will be ID1 to ID3. So we have 2 connections from ID1 to, which is ID3 and ID2. Let me add some more connections. Now I have up to ID7, and these are how they connect together. If you look at all these connections I did here, and I'm going to change the flow to left to right, so it looks this way. You can also decide to change the node shape. For square bracket, it is square shape. If you turn it to this bracket, it's going to have rounded edges. You can see ID1, the identity 1 has rounded edges. A stadium shape diagram, we have these and square bracket inside, and you can see right here, this is what it shows. Let's turn this to a circle shape. To do that, we're going to turn ID2 to double bracket. We're going to have double bracket and then put identity 2. So you can see it is a round shape. I'm going to do the same thing for ID3, and you will see it's going to change to a round shape. Now, if you want to change to a cylindrical shape, you're going to have a square bracket and a normal bracket in there. And when you do it, you see ID4 becomes a cylinder. I can do the same thing for ID5. Just put the bracket in, and then you see this becomes cylinders. We can also have a symmetry shape. Instead of using square bracket, we're just going to have a greater than sign here, and you would see it became something of this sort. Let me change this to top bottom so you can see well, TB, and you can see it changes it to an asymmetry shape. Let's take a look at linking shapes. To do a direct link, the dash greater than sign is to help you do an arrow link. To do an open link, you just need to remove, for instance, let's make an open link between ID1 and ID2. You're going to remove the greater than sign and put just one more dash, and you can see from ID1 to ID3, it's just all together. It's an open link. If you want to put a text between the text, let's say between ID 2 and 6, this is ID 2 and 6, you're going to start with first 2 dashes, and then you put the text in between, and then you have 3 more dashes, and then it shows you whatever text you put there. You would notice that it removed the arrowhead link. If you want to keep an arrowhead link, let's say between 2 and 7, what you do is that you do the arrowhead link, and then you use a pipe to put a text. You put the text in between a pipe, and then that text appears with the arrowhead. To do a dotted line, let's say dotted line between identity 3 and 4, you just come in between the first dash, you put a dot, and then it gives you a dotted line to identity 4. If you put 2 dots, it's going to move the identity 4 one level down, and the more dots you put, the more it moves it down. Let's do another example for class diagrams. And for class diagrams, you can see all the class diagrams marked down here. And I'm going to use the syntaxes that are here to create class diagrams. And when you come back to the VS Code, I have an abstract class animal that also has a sound method, and cat derives the animal, and dog derives the animal. And for cats, the sound is meow, and dog, the sound is wolf. There is a client code that takes an animal on initialization and then print out the message of the animal. If you run this code, let's just do the code. Basically, you just say cat will say meow, dog will say wolf. Now, if we want to present this in class diagrams, we're going to have another markdown file, which I call test.md. to implement the class diagram. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is to say that this will contain Mermaid code, and the next thing on the second line is to say this is a class diagram. Then I'm going to state all the classes that I have. The first is animal. Open to say you can see it has started drawing it, and I can put in say any variable that I want. Say legs, is going to put that as a variable. The plus sign means that this is a public variable. Minus sign means this is a private variable, and the hash sign means this is a protected variable. Well, Python doesn't do that, but of course you can have all that done here. And if I want to implement methods, of course I can say, if you check the code, what we have here is a sound method. So I'm going to say plus sound, and then it implements the sound method. I'm going to remove all this because I actually didn't declare it in the code. So I have a class for animal, and then I have another class for cat, which would also implement the sound. And there's another way you can implement a class. You can say the class name is dog, and then you don't need to do a parenthesis. You just come here and say the dog column has a sound method. You can say it is a public method. Okay, seeing this as a parameter, I'm going to put it as so. And these two, the animal the cat and dogs are subclasses of the animal. So we're going to come here to implement, to say something is a subclass. I'm going to say animal lesser than sign pipe dash dash. That's a sign to say that this inherits. And we're going to say cat, and immediately you see cat comes under the animal. And then also I'll do the same thing for the cat, for the dog, and the dog also animal. The dog also will come under the animal. It means that cat and dog inherit animal. So you can implement your class this way with curly brace, or you can just say the name of the class and say a dog has a sound method. And the last class that we have is client. And the client class, I'm just going to open it this way. If you check the code, the client class has an init method and then a say method. So you can come and say for the client class, it has an init method and then a say method. You don't have to put the plus sign. Actually, just make sure you put the curly brace, the braces, to show that it's a method, so that it knows where to assign it. If you take out, you look at it here, client is here, but if you take out the curly braces, it's going to come here. As you would also note that the client class has a private method. This is a private method, a private attribute that is called animal. So to do that, we're just going to put in here and say minus, which signifies private, animal. And then to say the type, you're just going to put a column animal here. And you would also note that for the dunder init method, it also has an animal parameter put in there. So I'm just going to do that here. Animal column animal. That's the parameter that it takes. The relationship between cat and animal is an inheritance relationship. There are several types of relationship that Mermaid class diagram offers. If you come to class diagrams. You can see a list of them here. This is how you do for composition, for aggregate, association, links, and all these. You can just check out the documentation, and that will give you how that is done. So in this instance, the client has a composition relationship with the animal class. So we're going to come here and say client has an asterisk dot dot, which is for composition with the animal class. And you can see right here the class diagram is just simply drawn. If it's an aggregation, it's not going to be asterisk. That will be 0 O, and you can see the diamond now is an empty diamond, but for composition it's going to be an asterisk. There are several other things you can do. You can define the namespace. You can set the cardinality, that is the multiplicity of relationship, and you can also set annotations for your class. For instance, if you see the animal class is an abstract class, and so we can come here while defining in our markdown in our animal class. We're just going to say the animal class is an abstract class. If it's an interface, you can just do the same thing, put interface there. I will say animal. And if you check the code now, it's going to show that animal is an abstract class. There are several other things you can do, but this will suffice for the example we want to give in this tutorial. You can check out my full video tutorial on Udemy titled Mastering Mermaid.js Diagram, Charts, and Data Visualization, which teaches in-depth course on different Mermaid.js diagram and chart implementation. Check out the link in the description for more details.